Good afternoon. My name is Clare Jackson. I work for a company called Acuity. For those of you who don't know us, we are energy policy specialists, which means that we work with industry across the energy space to engage with policy. So we are technology neutral as an organization, but I must admit within my company they do call me Hydrogen Claire. I like to think that's a sort of term of endearment, but I think it's because they're actually a bit irritated with me banging on about hydrogen the whole time. So we run a project called the Hydrogen Hub. We don't make anything, we don't develop any technology, but what we do is try and support organizations who are trying to deploy technology. And we do that by developing these hydrogen hubs in specific local areas and bringing together stakeholders from across the hydrogen and fuel cell industry, but also local authorities and potential and current end users of the technology. Now, we've talked a lot today about some of the amazing potential that hydrogen has to decarbonize our transportation system. It has, and also improve the urban air quality. And it does this in a wonderful way of having this zero tailpipe emissions, but also in a way which doesn't require the consumer to really change their behavior that much. When we talk to end users, or potential end users, this hydrogen and fuel cell technology is actually really new to them. Many of them have never even heard of it. And they're always really surprised when we tell them that actually fuel cells were developed in the 1800s. It took a little bit longer for the first fuel cell to be put inside a vehicle. It was this rather good-looking fuel cell tractor developed by Alice Chalmers. No offense to John, but I think that is probably one of the best looking fuel cell vehicles I've ever seen. If they made it in another color apart from orange, which my mum always says clashes with my hair, then I will be driving one of these. The first road-ready car, or road-ready vehicle, came a few years later. This was 1959. 1966, whilst England were beating Germany at football, General Motors bought out this Chevrolet Electrovan. Great vehicle, a range of 120 miles, top speed of 70 miles an hour. The only kind of drawback is, although the size of the vehicle was fairly large, it only had 2 seats because the fuel cell and the hydrogen tanks and the oxygen tanks took up so much space, pretty much the entire of the back end of the vehicle. But you can see that we've come an awfully long way between this and some of the vehicles that we see outside the building, and there have been many sort of iterative processes and iterations between now and then. But so what's that sort of story look like? Well, this is a graph which is very familiar. It's called the hype cycle. It's what a lot of new technologies go through. And for those of you who've been in the fuel cell industry for a very long time, this may be a sort of a representation of what your career has felt like. So when we sort of had that sort of initial technology trigger that happened for the hydrogen and fuel cell industry, and there was initially a huge amount of excitement and hype about this new technology that was going to completely transform the way that we generate and use energy. It was the silver bullet, or maybe the platinum bullet in this particular case. But as things took a little bit longer than people expected, it was a bit slower to get sort of products that were reliable, that had sort of high performance, and that were available in any kinds of quantities and at any kind of vaguely affordable rate. And we ended up in this, what is rather dramatically termed, I would say, the trough of disillusionment. And fuel cell industries was in that trough for a little while. It almost got the reputation. People used to say, you know, fuel cells, technology of the future and always will be. So there was a certain amount of disillusionment around this technology. And I would say we are now at a very exciting point where we are now starting to creep up that slope of enlightenment and leaving that trough of disillusionment behind. And we now have products which are available to buy, that are reliable, that are high performance, and that is something that we haven't seen before. And that's kind of where the Hydrogen Hub comes in. We are really looking to try and accelerate the industry's move up that slope of enlightenment. And we do that, by, as I said, by creating these hydrogen hubs, which bring together these local stakeholders and look for opportunities to use this technology to meet the local energy needs of the community. And we do that by sort of clustering different applications to try and make the economics work slightly better, and by trying to raise visibility by doing this in one location. So we started in Swindon in 2016, January 2016. There was already a hydrogen refueling station there that was being operated by BOC at the Honda plant. But what we found when we were talking to potential end users was that actually with just that one station, there was a huge amount of nervousness and reluctance to invest in the vehicles. Because what if the station wasn't working? What if there wasn't enough hydrogen? What if there was a problem? Where's the nearest station? Actually, it's quite a decent chunk of the way down the road in London. So what we were looking to do was put in a second refueling station. And that's what we have very, very much just about to do. It is almost complete. And we found that once there was 2 refueling stations within sort of 10, 15 minutes of each other, so actually if one's not working, it's not a huge inconvenience to go 10 minutes down the road to the other one, that actually all that kind of nervousness around the technology was very much calmed, and we managed to get some of these vehicles into end users. We've been working with Arval, who are one of the UK's leading leasing companies, and that's been really invaluable for us, not only tapping into their customer base, which has been very useful, but also providing some of that support around the use of the vehicles. So we currently have vehicles that are being used by Nationwide, being used by National Trust, being used by the Science Museum, who have a facility in Swindon where they house their exhibits, and they use the vehicle to trot some of those smaller ones down to London, and also Johnson Matthey and Arval themselves. And this is a picture of an event that we ran last year, which brought together 50 local business users from within Swindon to come and get their hands on the technology, see how it works, and see other businesses who are in the same area doing the same thing. And that's been really great for driving the excitement and the demand around this technology in Swindon. We've been in Swindon for the last 2 years now, really trying to work on this model, what works, what doesn't work, and we're now in a position where we're just about to expand into some other locations. The first one of those is Oxford in the 20th of this month. So that's very exciting. And we're hoping that by clustering these different hydrogen hubs around the country, we can start to build up that network that's required to support this technology moving forwards in a way that's actually affordable and manageable and doesn't require a huge amount of external investment. I'll look forward to answering your questions later on, but we'll pass on.